Welcome back to Secret Weapons, and today we're taking another look at the Benson Germanium Boost, sponsored by Little Box Effects. I think this is the second time we have ever talked about the same piece of gear twice on this channel. The first time, of course, being the hologram microcosm, a device so dense, complex, and kind of replete with features and submenu controls that I spent the better portion of a year getting to know it well enough to feel comfortable making that video, only to come back a year and a half later with an entire separate video on kind of how to use it in specific contexts and how to kind of work it into your productions and songwriting. Because a pedal with that level of kind of complexity and intricacy takes a long time to get to know, and to kind of live with it in the studio is to find more uses for it over time. Today we are taking a look at the Benson Germanium Boost. It has one knob, it has one foot switch, and it is one of my favorite pedals anyone has ever made, and I firmly believe that it is worth taking a second look at a couple years after its release. Before we get into it, I want to go ahead and thank Little Box Effects for sponsoring this video and for sending me this incredibly pretty baby blue sparkly germanium boost. I think Andrew over at Little Box picks the best colors of anybody in the industry. The kind of like limited colorway choices he does on the brands that he works with are the best looking pedals anyone sells. So if you're in the market for the Germanium Boost or any other really cool drive or time-based effect or anything, I would recommend checking out his store, because if you like something cool, he probably has it, and he probably has it in an even cooler color. By the way, there is no affiliate link or additional kickback if you buy anything through his store because of this video. I'm just going to tell you to go buy stuff from him because I think he's a great dude. Ambient Endeavors is an awesome channel, and I want to support the dude. So yeah, go check out Little Box, and let's talk about the Germanium Boost. This is my original Germanium Boost. I got this right out ahead of the initial launch of the pedal. Did my original video on it, pretty much only showcasing it on guitar in a largely ambient context, with a couple moments of showcasing its ability to kind of blow up or clean up an amplifier. And I say clean up because a really interesting complication of this device is your signal stays completely the same no matter where it is on that dial, only louder and quieter. You don't lose highs, lows, there is no tilt EQ, and you do not increase or decrease the saturation inside of this device with knob placement. It is a completely flat and accurate kind of germanium infused recreation of your signal anywhere you go on that knob, and that has some really excellent implications and consequences. First things first, the high headroom, clarity, and like flat responsiveness of it makes it great on multiple instruments. This thing actually sounds really killer on bass. It sounds obviously amazing on guitars, but it can also be made to sound, they can also be used to take like digital synths and stuff and imbue them with a sense of analog warmth as well. That analog warmth that the germanium in this thing offers is also an incredibly strong secret weapon for digital rigs. I'm a huge fan of putting the Germanium Boost out in front of something like the Quad Cortex or the UA amp sims, because that little bit of, even just perfectly at unity, that little bit of like warmth and saturation that this pedal offers up gives an analog kind of like glue and honesty to your signal and anything that kind of comes after it. And over the last couple of years, I have been expanding my use cases of this device in those ways. And as I've started to build out this studio space more, I've gotten more ambitious with some of the areas I use this thing. I found a lot of value in kind of like reamping stuff in the box through it in really narrow and specific like use cases, but never quite as built out as I wanted to, because a combination of my kind of reamping system wasn't totally dialed yet, and also I only owned the one. But you might notice we now have two. So for the intro track on this video, we actually have Germanium Boost on everything. And I mean everything. That MOOG synth bass at the start is the Universal Audio MOOG plugin in Luna, and we loop it out of the box and through the Germanium Boosts. The bass is tracked through the Germanium Boost going into the bass rig, into the system. There's a Germanium Boost on the pedal board for all the guitars, and we actually take these in stereo and reamped all of our drums, the kit in one pass and the cymbals in another pass, through both of these in stereo. And the thing that I'm finding as I put everything through the Germanium Boosts is it makes everything sound better. So instead of spending the rest of this video doing that kind of top-down pedal board sound samples thing, we're instead going to take a look at how I wired up my studio to be able to reamp with the Germanium Boosts. And we will A/B things like that MOOG synth bass and those drums with and without that kind of added analog Germanium warmth of kind of processing it out of the box through these pedals. Because I really am just totally taken by the punchiness and the warmth and the presence that these little one knob pedals are offering to things like stereo drum buses and big kind of like Moogy synth bass moments and everything. It's honestly really inspiring to hear how good these things sound on basically anything I throw at them. So let's go ahead and start taking a look at the Germanium Boost on a myriad of different instruments in this kind of production workflow. And once again, I'm going to link Benson's website down below. So if you want to read more about the development process behind the Germanium Boost and why it does what it does, I highly recommend checking that out, because I think understanding this stuff helps you find use cases. But also we're going to link Little Box effects down below as well. If you want to pick up a Germanium Boost, I think this is the best looking one, and I highly recommend you go check it out. So let's start the conversation of how do I get my audio out of my DAW and back into it by looking at how I have everything wired up for these purposes. You need a couple of things in order to do this. We have our two Germanium Boosts right here. We have pedal power mounted on the desk. Not necessary, but a fun flex. You need power for those. A couple of normal patch cables to get into those devices. And then I'm using TRS patch cables to get from my patch bay to the devices and back again. And a set of reamp boxes. We are using the Walrus Audio Canvas reamps, 2 of them. So let's go ahead and wire everything up. My recording interface is the Apollo X8P, and on the back you have DB25 connectors for line outputs and line inputs that are wired to this patch bay right here. But if you're using something like the Apollo Twin instead, you could use the 2 line outs on the back and the 2 mic inputs on the back to effectively accomplish the same thing. The way that I have the patch bay set up with the Apollo though is the first 8 inputs along here on the top row are audio outputs, and the 8 inputs directly below it are the audio inputs. So signal flows out of the interface to these jacks sending audio out, and they basically waterfall down to their return back into the line inputs 1 through 8. So if we want to do anything in that kind of like signal flow of coming out and going straight back in, we use our patch cables to put something in that signal flow. So let's go ahead and wire it up. Okay, so messiness aside, we can now see that our signal flow in theory should be audio comes out purple and orange on left and right, flows to the inputs on the reamp boxes where we set level. We have the option to do things like high pass, low frequencies, invert phase, ground lift if you're getting any noise, that kind of thing, and set your level right here. It runs into each of the boosts, which then in turn go out to the 1 and 2 inputs on the patch bay, which run them back into the interface itself. Okay, so we're now in our DAW. I'm using Luna here, and depending on what DAW you're in, the way that you go about kind of either using the Germanium Boosts as an insert or as a reamping tool are going to vary. Like in Pro Tools, you can use them as an insert and use them in basically real time. Luna at time of writing doesn't actually have the ability to kind of drop inserts or easily go out of the box in that way in real time. And so instead, what we have done is effectively, you can see right here, we have things like the Germanium MOOG reamp and these 2 drum reamps. And then over here, I have my original kind of like synth bass kind of MIDI file that I played in, and then the audio I printed in kind of like after having written everything. So let's start by talking about how I got that audio through these pedals and back. Obviously, we have everything wired up correctly right now. So if we go over here, and we'll kind of just like re-record it. What I did was effectively set a send to send out. So let's go ahead and mute our original audio and instead listen back to the synth bass as it was originally played. So what we can do now is basically if we want to print to this right here, and let's just go ahead and print it freshly just for the fun of it. What I did was I soloed, you don't even have to solo it necessarily, but what I did was went into my sends. Here, we'll start from scratch. Go into your send, output to line 1 and 2, which we have up here. And then what I effectively did was brought that up to however much volume I wanted to send out to these guys, set pre so I could then in turn mute my actual audio so I'm not hearing that synth bass play. So basically what we're going to do from here is we'll mute the synth bass track, make sure that we have our send set to pre-fader, which basically means that this audio goes out the line level regardless of what's happening with the kind of like main fader down below. We will then record enable our return, set to inputs 1 and 2 up here, as you can see. And then if we want to be able to hear just that audio specifically, we will solo the bass bus, which is where this is kind of playing out to. And now you can hear. And so by record enabling, let's go ahead and actually just delete the old take just for the fun of it. And now when we play back, we'll turn off the Germanium boosts. Even if we take them down to unity. And then we just print it by simply playing the track through. And just by doing that process, we now have the original. There's some great sizzle and texture by just kind of pushing these a little bit harder than that. And that exact same workflow gets us to our drums as well. Let's go ahead, hide that MIDI track, bring back in. The way that I did the drums for this one was I have the original drums that I wrote. So let's go ahead and mute up all of our drums and unmute these. I decided I wanted to process the kit and the cymbals separately with the Germanium Boost. And so what I did was, as you can see if I expand these 3 MIDI drum programs out, I have the full kit in this top one, just the kit in this, or just the cymbals in this one. Unmute. I guess unsolo. And then just the kit. And so same workflow down here. I have my line outs from both the drum cymbals and the drum kit to the reamps of the Germanium drums and the Germanium cymbals. So if we go in here and we listen, you can hear the original kit. And then let's listen to the kind of like tom fill towards the end here. Let's snap so everything is perfect. Obviously you can hear there's more punch to it. There's a little bit more of a woody, almost earthy tone to those drums, which I really, really dig. So if you kind of listen to the track without the reamp, yeah, that's why I really like the Germanium Boost on everything. So once again, if you find this useful, if you find any of the use cases in this video compelling, I would highly recommend checking out the Germanium Boost, and more specifically, I do very much support the idea of going and checking it out at Little Box Effects. Like I said, not only is Little Box sponsoring this video, but I am just a huge fan of my buddy who owns that shop. I think it's a great spot. I think they support great builders, and I think it's worth checking them out if you want to support kind of like an independent music store, as well as get some really cool gear from a really cool guy. So thank you for watching, and until next time.